Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Scenes, where we peel back the curtain to discover how Vidyard customers are using video and Vidyard to accelerate their business and make more human connections. My name is Olivia. I'm a media specialist at Vidyard, and I will be your host for today. Today, I get the opportunity to chat with the CEO and founder of Penguin Strategies, Perry Nalevka. In Perry's role, he's passionate about working with startups and helping them find the road to growth by scaling their inboard marketing efforts. And naturally, video takes a key role in this. So let's get Perry on here. Perry, how are you doing today?
Great. Glad to be here.
Perry's tuning in all the way from Israel. So we're on opposite sides of the globe right now, but power of technology, we're sitting down together.
Oh, you're on this side.
Farrah, I've got a ton of questions for you today, but I just want to quickly take a second to remind the audience that you are able to ask questions in the live platforms. So if you just add comments in there, we can bring them onto the screen and have your questions answered live. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right. First off, when it comes to using video, where did it start for you? What were your goals or what problems were you trying to solve?
So there's a few things that video isn't something that's new. A lot of companies have been using video for many years to help explain their content, their products, what their points they're trying to get across. I think what's happened over the last few years is people and companies have realized that it needs to come down to a more personal level. And so over the last probably 4 years, I've been using for myself, for the company, and for some of our customers. We're trying to engage on a more personal level, meaning not just explainer videos, which is that's old. It still works and it's great, but how do we as people use it to engage better on a one-to-one basis, on a person-to-person, a company-to-person basis. So that's one of the main differences or changes I've seen over the last few years. Some people are calling it personal branding, but I think it's more about really just connecting on a scaling up the ability to connect on a one-to-one basis.
And so, in terms of problems, what problems were Penguin Strategies trying to find solutions to?
So I'll divide into two. One is what I start talking about is that ability to scale scale the ability, scale your connection, your connections on a more personal basis. The second is the actual delivery of video, in a virtual sense on your websites. So I'll talk probably about both areas, but if I talk about the second area for a minute, the experiences, if you look back to where things were a few years ago, and there's a lot of companies or a lot of websites that still have this, is okay. I've done a video, I've done an explainer video, or I've created a great piece of content that portrays a piece of content or whatever it might be, and now I'm going to upload it to YouTube, and I'll just put a link on my website, and away we go. Now we have video content on our website. Problem with that experience is that you don't have control over the user experience. YouTube does on your website, which is problematic. You've seen the commercials that come on in the middle. The video finishes, it gets all these different pictures in there, some of them relevant, some of them not, and then of course it probably will take some of your users away. So there's a problem with that experience. So we've been looking for ways to improve that experience. There's lots of different areas that we can dive into, which I'll let you talk a little bit.
Sounds great. What Vidyard tool are you using to record those videos?
So there's two parts, right? There's if we're talking about the more the website level videos, so those are recorded and edited with specific tools for that, and then we're using Vidyard as a hosting tool. We're talking about it on a personal level. We're talking about we use videos on a personal level in a number of ways. One is for customer support. So when we want to explain to a customer how to fix something, sometimes we can just make a quick video, share the screen, use the Chrome extension. Vidyard Chrome extension is very big, gets a lot of use over here. And the same thing is with our SDRs. So a lot of the emails they'll send out will be with a little video, which explains what they want, either just by making it a little more personal. And so that's a big tool that we're using. So that's on the one-to-one side. On the hosting side, we're using Vidyard to host. It first of all solves that problem I mentioned before about the user experience. Meaning once you use once we use it on our website or our customer's website, the experience is that they get to see the from start to finish. And then we have a couple of things that allow us to control behind the scenes. First of all, you see analytics, so we can start seeing where people are jumping on and jumping off of the web, off the video, to help us improve. But also, in actually the olden days, I know that a lot of companies still do this. You wanted to put a webinar or a piece of video content behind a landing page. It's a clunky experience, right? They fill out a landing page, then they get to a video, which sometimes is still on YouTube for some reason. But anyways, we'll get a whole other topic. But here you have the ability to feed some content, some value, and somewhere along the lines you can create there can be a quick pop-up form, like a form right in the video that you can have someone fill in their email and they can continue. So there's just a lot of flexibility built right into the platform. And now we're looking at hosting whole pages of videos right with Vidyard. So it's a tool that's built for it. So it's the experience is just levels ahead of what it was before.
Yeah, either way, you have more control over both your experience, perhaps on the for both use cases,
Yep.
as well as the customer's experience, as well as the audience. How do you, for the more personalized videos, when you're preparing yourself to create a video, what are you doing?
Okay. So,
or even before you hop on a live, how did you prepare for this?
So again, I'll divide into two separate things, right? If we're talking about a message for, either a sales message or a customer support message, that's a little bit simpler. We know we want to get a point across. We want to show the customer which button to click, and you basically go ahead as if we were on the line together, and we click what we need to do, we talk, and then we send it. We're talking about things that are a little bit more, we'll call it, for personal branding or personal content or company content. Then we need to think a little bit more. We need to look at it like any other piece of content that we're creating. And is it part of our larger strategy, or is it just something that came to you and you want to deliver? So if you have an overall content strategy, how do we fit video content into it? And so what I will usually do is, at least what I usually will do is, I'll map out something that I want to say. I'll create a number of points, maybe talk it through to myself one time, and then I'll just jump on camera and start blabbering. I'll just start talking until I feel like I've gotten my point across, and then I'll go back and edit out the areas, the ums and ohs and whatever it might be that might, the editing tools are so easy today. And then boom, you've got a piece of content.
Get all the filler words out of there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you're live, you can't do that. So we'll have to watch our ums.
Try to keep it to a minimum.
Well, one of the great things about video is that it's not always perfect, right? You get a personal sense for who's on the other end of the camera because of sometimes the filler words, not too many, but just enough that you know that it's authentic. In your role, and we're probably going to split this into the two use cases again, but how are you and your team using video to communicate at Penguin strategies, maybe for marketing to customers, as well as maybe system integrations and sales?
We might even divide it into three, because recently we've also been using it for employer branding. So we've been jumping on calls. Mostly this is an initiative from the HR team. They've been jumping on calls with employees, talking to them about the realities of working here, and almost unfiltered, maybe some ums and ohs taken out, but really just putting that online so that potential potential employees can have a kind of an inside view of what's going on here. So that's one area that we've been using it. I mentioned before the customer support. So in their system integration team, it happens a lot, right? We support a lot of customers, with with our HubSpot practice, Salesforce, and Vidyard, as well as quite a few other tools. So pretty much most of the main marketing tools that you can imagine that are being supported, integrated. And so sometimes the easiest thing to do is to just say, just to get on a quick video chat, or sorry, quick video, record it, send it out to the customer, and it solves the problem. And if that even works 60% of the time, you can imagine the amount of emails you just save, not having to go back and forth, setting up a video chat, getting on a call, explaining it. It's just a huge saving of time. And so that's a big deal. There was probably one more thing that you were thinking of, and I'll let you remind me what it is, because I just can't
I
remember.
said one being for marketing customers, and then the other one's for system integrations and sales.
Right. So I think that the only other one, which we talked about before, is kind of, again, I've been doing some videos, some personal videos, where I come up with a problem I've been seeing, and I think that I think it might help even one person out there. So I'll create a video and share it. The thing with those types of videos, and LinkedIn's their algorithms changed over the last few weeks. I've noticed that I don't see as many videos as I used to, and I'm not sure it's because people are making less videos or it's the algorithm change, but let's assume that things will go back to normal eventually. What I think, when I've tested the different types of videos that go on, there's kind of a couple of things. If you're thinking about doing videos for any kind of social media, I'm sure it will work. Same thing for Facebook or other platforms. Is the authenticity that we talked about before, and kind of putting in, people talk about value, but it's got to be all about the audience that you're talking to. You want to make sure that it's something that they can really pick up on. And usually, if you can bring in some type of personal element to it, that's going to be a grabber. If you can put in some humor, that's also something that I've seen is done really well. Is it helps with engagement. Those are like two really important ingredients that I've seen work really well.
And how long are these videos normally?
I'll just add one more thing. I mentioned two. I think there's a third ingredient that also help, and that is trying to be edgy. We'll call it controversial. So, I've done a few different types of videos, and I know that we're going to see one in a bit, more on the personal side. But I did one on talking about spam, and even though it seems like not a controversial issue or topic, but when you start talking about spam, people don't realize that what they're doing is spamming, buying a list and emailing it. Doesn't matter how you got that list together. That's spam. And so talking about that and saying how wrong it is, and that causes a lot of or cold calling. There's a lot of people that still believe in cold calling. A lot of companies that still do cold calling, and they wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't bringing in business. So there's a lot of controversial elements there. To your next question is, I think as you're starting out, if you want to start getting people to watch your videos, you want to keep them on the shorter side. There's no perfect time limit, but if it's probably for social media, 60 seconds is the average. So if you're just starting out, you want to keep it under 60 seconds, between 30 and 60. Once you got people that think that you're doing a decent job, you can start getting it a little bit longer. I've seen people out there that have really created an audience, and they're putting out 2-3 minute videos, and people are watching them start to finish, because they know that those people are providing value, entertainment, whatever. If you can provide education, value, and entertainment in the same video, you've got it. And if you figure it out, please teach me.
Well, we're going to combine all of those things right now, and show one of the videos that you added to social not too long ago. It's 60 seconds, so everyone hold on just one moment here.
This video is for future me. I thought some of you might find value in it. It's November 2020, 9 months into COVID. And because of you, we just lost 3 customers that have been with us for under 6 months, something that's almost never happened. And I hope when you're watching this sometime in the future, it never happens again. I went back and reviewed the sales process, and there was always someone that brought up an objection how the customers that we were closing did not fit our perfect customer profile. In one case, the customer was too early stage and had not found product market fit yet. In another, the expectations were not aligned with reality. And in the third, the customer wanted leads out of the gate when there was no assets or budget to make that happen. This all happened back in April, when your excuse was that you had to take anybody willing to do business with you during these crazy COVID times. You wanted revenue, and you figured your team could just figure it out. Well, you set your team up for failure and created unhappy customers. So future me, please stick to our detailed ideal customer, where we lay out exactly who we work with, and more importantly, who we don't. Be real. Remember that not all business is good. And finally, go with your gut. It's almost always right.
There's a couple things. I mean, why don't you start off by telling us a
I
little
haven't
bit
watched that in a while. Good reminder.
It is a good reminder. And you can see that slight element of controversy saying not all business is good business, whereas I think many people would have headed into that thinking all business is good business. Maybe not. There's a couple digital components there as well. You mentioned you use Capwing. Having those subtitles is so important. It helps with engagement and retaining engagement, as well as the time bar that goes across the bottom. So you are already preparing your audience for how long they need to be engaged. I think that those are both awesome tools that you incorporated into that.
Yeah, no, it's those things are important, and it's incredibly, it's how easy it is to do it. I don't remember that one in particular, but I would say, many years ago, to put out a minute video, even at the low quality that was, could take a couple of hours. Whereas I did that in probably one take, and 20 to 40 minutes after I did it, in the time is just that it needs to be processed. So I actually worked on it probably 15 minutes, and then an hour after I'd done it, it was up in the air. And it's really that easy, and you don't need to be very technical. And there's plenty of tools. Capwing just happens to be an incredible one that I came across back in a couple of years, and just been using it ever since.
I think social sharing is awesome, and while in some capacity you are getting analytics, right? You're seeing that engagement with your audience and and you get direct feedback. I think it's a great use of the platform.
I sent you that one because it was not one that I had made for engagement. I was having a frustrating day, as you can probably sense from now that I watch it. I can see it, or I can see it in my eyes. And I just wanted an outlet, and I put it out there, and then I shared it, assuming it'll be what it'll be. And it ended up becoming, I think, one of my top 3 performing piece of content that I'd ever done. So it was either a slow day on LinkedIn, or if I analyzed it like I like to do, and really I think the personal element, admitting to being something, you're flawed, and all that was actually was very nice to see, I guess. I can see that in other piece of content that I've watched, or that I read. You learn a lot from other people's mistakes. It's a pretty good piece of content for that purpose.
Very honest and authentic. Taking a step back from social sharing, how do you leverage video analytics once you've sent an email to help improve your content?
So you're saying, like, when we sent an email to direct people to a video, how do we use analytics after that? I just want to make sure I understand the question.
Certainly, whether it's personal, but I believe you also had mentioned that you use video in email campaigns.
Okay, sure.
So let's use that use case. in an email campaign, how are you leveraging video or the Vidyard analytics to help improve your content moving forward?
So, what's really nice about the video content. So think about it, static content or a blog, right? You send people, how we all know that open rates are meaningless today because they're just, with all the security measures, just in case people don't know, it's a good thing to tell them. Please do not don't even look at open rates, because most security tools open emails before they get to people. So you could get like 80% open rates and really nobody's opening your email. What matters is click rates. So that's great. So now I know someone clicked on a link, went to my blog. I don't know if they read it. Even if I know that they stayed on it for 20 minutes, it could be they just left they left the window open, or there's all other things. So it's very hard to tell. And there are tools that are helping figure that out. What's great about video is at least you can, can't tell if they watched it, but you can tell how long it played. And typically if someone's not watching it, they'll turn it off or they'll go to another page. So what's great about this is now we have a really good feedback loop on the type of content and the quality of it. And so we can see, and we're seeing two types of things, right? Yes, we're going to see a trend of how many people watch it to what, but we're also going to see what types of people watched what. Because a lot of the things that we're doing is we're trying to sell. We work with, you mentioned before, we work with startups. We work with a really broad range of technology companies, and they're selling to very specific personas. And so it's very interesting to see what the different personas do with the content. So this has become very, a very important tool for us.
What are some tips for increasing the adoption of video, that you would like to share?
So, the adoption, the pushback to adoption is a number of it's a number of levels. At a company level, it is sometimes just thought that it's cost prohibitive. So there's an education that needs to be, when we work with customers, they're like, okay, don't talk to us about video. We don't have the budget, and then we talk about it. We understand. We help them understand what it is that a video doesn't have to cost a lot more than a blog does. We're not talking about creating a production with with stars and I don't know whatever. But that's one area. So that's an element so that's when we're talking about at a company level. When we're talking about a personal level, some people will just never get over themselves and get in front of a camera. So we'll put those in, but that's a small percentage. But really sharing with them what other people are doing and explaining to them and walking them through the process, creating like really a real template. Like when a while back we did a kind of it was a cool activity we did during Corona, where everybody was working from home. We couldn't get everybody together, and we created this this package where they could create a small video. So we actually created, I think it was a song that everybody had to just do one little thing, but we created it so easy for them to template that most people just jumped on and did it, and sent them their from their they only need to do it from their phone or from their they could record themselves on with Vidyard or whatever it was, and then we just put it all together. So it's just, I'm saying, so the more you make it small baby steps, it's a way to get people engaged, and once they start seeing the results of it, it starts coming together. But gotta be relentless.
So for those of our viewers who are avid viewers of Behind the Scenes, this is a question that we ask every single time towards the end of our interview, and it is, if there was one piece of advice you could give yourself a year ago when it comes to using video, what would that be? And you know what? It doesn't even need to be one. You can give us as many tips as you would as a prior version of yourself would require.
I think that the first thing is I wish I would have started earlier. I think that's the tip is to do it, and to do it more often. I've a lot of times I don't do as much as I would like to, and so I think I would like to tell myself or to tell anybody that they should start earlier. It takes time to to get people engaged, and I've seen it happen. Right, I have my different networking buddies from LinkedIn, and a lot of times I'll I haven't done a video in a few months now, and I'll get messages and say, hey, what? So that it's not like it says that's something that once you build it up, if you stop doing it, it's almost like you have to start again. So that's one thing. I think I think also just a big tip I'd give people is really just get out there, just videos, put yourself on video, put it out there. Don't overthink it. Perfect is always the enemy of done, right? Or there's some sentence like that, right? So you just got to get out there and do it. It's definitely never as bad as you think it is. You're your worst critic, and that's fine. But if you don't do it, you'll never get off. You'll never get started. And don't take yourself too seriously. I mean, feel free to go and see some of the stuff I have on mine. It's some of it's too serious, and some of it might be a little bit too light, but it's just what it is.
Yes, if you're tuning in on LinkedIn, you'll see Perry's profile tagged on this post here. So definitely go check out the videos that he's been making. And that's great advice, and advice that maybe I needed to hear as well right now. I'm still in that process of being very critical and doing it over and over and over again, and looking back at all of them going, they're all the same. Why did I spend so much time doing this? But at the end of the day, video is the way. So Perry, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to meet with me. This was wonderful. I look forward to hearing how you're using video in the future, and we'll likely have you on again soon.
Great.
Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.